We're going to start right now talking about how to get started in a geographic farm. So pretty much if you have one now, you might have some information that we're going to begin with. I don't have one, or not farming, and now what am I going to do? Okay, first of all, the people that are supposed to know everything, probably me too, right, think that an agent needs about 3 prospecting methods in order to continue to generate the kind of business they want to generate. So those methods to generate business could be sphere of influence, which obviously everybody wants to do that. Some people have more than others. Past clients and customers for people that have past clients and customers. Open houses is a prospecting method, all right. Investors is a prospecting method. For sale by owners, expired. But one of the tried and true prospecting methods that people have used for ages, and it still works, is a geographic farm. The definition of a geographic farm would be trying to get your business around a certain geographic area that is specifically targeted. The reason it works is that you have some sort of synergy because people are seeing your name and your sign over and over again. Let's say you had 5 listings and you have 5 in one neighborhood, but you have 1 in Kingwood, 1 in the Woodlands, 1 in Katy. That isn't going to generate as much business as it would if you were thought of as an expert in that area. If you do a geographic farm, I've done this, Brian doesn't like it when I say it, but over 30 years, because when I'm saying it, I mean, I think I've learned a few things by watching really good agents do a really good job, and then some people not do a great job. I think that lots of our top producers do have geographic farms that are really good at it, and I've seen more people waste more money and more time not doing it correctly. So I'm going to say this over and over again. You choose it, and either you're all in or all out. You can't just play around at it and expect to get any results. So what are the results that we were trying to get? What you're trying to get is what we call major market share. You're going to look at an area, and your goal would be, depending on the size of the neighborhood, your goal would be in a neighborhood that had probably 1,000 or under, your goal would be to have 25% of the market. I have seen people get half the market in a neighborhood that has about 600 homes, but you know, you're not going to get half the market in a neighborhood that has 3,000 homes. It's just not going to be possible. Also, I might say in some of your planned communities, I think it's a little bit harder because there's neighborhoods, and so when you're driving around, you could not drive around and see. You could have 5 signs in a pocket, and then nobody would ever see those signs except for the people that live in that area. Where if you were in Lakewood Forest, you're in Champion Forest, you're in the neighborhoods that when people carpool, drive out of the subdivision, they're driving by your signs all the time. And the reason that it works is that they see your name over and over and over again as an expert. Whoever it is that decides these things says that somebody has to see your name 7 times before they even begin to know who you are. Just, you think that you're everywhere, and if they haven't seen it somewhere 7 times, they may not remember it. So our goal of Geographic Farm is to get the major market share. I don't believe that you can farm 2 neighborhoods at once. I talk to a lot of people and I say, what are you doing? Oh, I'm just going to use some subdivisions. I'm going to farm Sterling Gate, Champion Forest, and Lakewood Forest. That is not going to work. There's not enough money, there's not enough time in order to do that. So generally what you would want to do is start with 1, and then once you get market share in that, spread out, or start with maybe up to 500 homes in one. And then once you start getting signs and market share in there, then you move to add maybe another 500 or go to a contiguous subdivision so that you share the school, share some of that so that they can see your names, see your name. Because what you want to do is that wherever they go, they see you. And the cheapest, best way is to have your name sitting in a yard on a sign. Okay, do all top agents have geographic farms? No, all top agents don't have geographic farms. A lot of them do. And part of it is because most top agents have a lot of listings. And one of the ways, other than expireds or FSBOs, et cetera, in order to get a lot of listings would be to concentrate on a geographic farm. The other reason that a geographic farm works is that when a seller goes to sell, they want to list with somebody that knows something about the neighborhood and has success in the neighborhood. And they should, because they're going to need advice on what to do. And really only the geographic farmer, I think, knows the nuances of that neighborhood and knows it like the back of their hand. And so that they can give better advice and people see them as somebody that's successful. All right, again, how many homes should I have in my geographic farm? The reason that I say don't do more than 500 in the beginning, now like let's say that you got a subdivision like Lakewood Forest and you have 1,000 homes, maybe 1,500 homes. Pick 500 houses. Certainly you'd pick the people that you know, that you should know people in there as your 500. You might pick around where you live for sure, because you probably know those neighbors. If you could pick some busy streets, so if you got a listing, your name would be there. And if you have any commonality, again, we're going to talk about how you would start getting listings, and it's a combination of things. And if it's too big, you tend not to do what you need to do in order to do the geographic farm. So like, let's say that I'm going to tell you that they need to see your name 3 times a month, minimum. See your name 3 times. And obviously, often part of that has to be direct mail. If direct mail costs just about 50 cents a piece, then how many houses are you going to be able to afford to do consistently? You'd be better off doing fewer homes more often than more homes fewer times. So I know people that'll say, oh, I'm doing Lakewood Forest. I do one mail out to the back 1 month, then one mail out to the front the next month, then another, and if they need to hear from you 7 times just to remember your name, a whole year is going to go by and they're not even going to remember who you are. Okay. So that's how many. How do you choose your geographic farm? Professionals disagree, and there's always people that have an exception. But in my experience, it's very difficult to geographic farm an area that you don't live in. Or if you don't live in there, your kids live in there, or somebody lives in there. Because I was just actually talking to Lindsay, who was the coach at the Woodlands, and she said, well, I don't agree with that. I geographic farm when I was an agent, and I didn't live there. And I said, well, was it in Houston? And she said, no. And I think if you think about this, Houston, we have what's called subdivisions. Some cities don't. They're not, there might be a name to the area, but it's just a bunch of houses. So our subdivisions have community HOAs, they have clubhouses, they have women's club, they have all this stuff. And for people to be involved, if you're not involved, but your competition is, it gives them a huge leg up because you can't go to the HOA meeting or maybe sponsor the events. So if you're going to do an area that you don't live in, and we're thinking that the geographic farm is trying to get strangers who don't know who you are to use you, then in order to get in front of those strangers, you're going to have, it's better to have some kind of access to them other than direct mail. Okay, how do you choose an area? You live there. Do you like the area? I have people that say, well, I don't want to do my subdivision because I don't like it. Well, if you don't like it, then you can't don't don't put money in it and an area in it. And do you have commonality with the people? Usually that's another reason. Who do people like better than anybody else? Themselves. So usually if you're living in an area, you have a lot in common economically, education wise, possibly just a lot with them, and people are comfortable with people that share commonality with them. So like I might say, well, why don't I go and farm River Oaks, because then the houses be 2 million and then I can make a lot of money. Well, I'm not a member of the junior league. I don't go on the top cocktail circuits in River Oaks. Nobody's going to pick me. I don't have anything in common with them. So that's one of the considerations too. The average sales price matters. All things considered, the higher the average sales price, the better it is. I know that one of our top agents in the Woodlands, that's been around a long time, did a seminar once and said she moved to the Woodlands. She strategically bought the cheapest house that she could find in the most expensive neighborhood because it was a strategic reason, and then got involved and then ended up being able to work in the upper end, even though when she began, she just, barely got in there. But again, they're neighbors, they share things in common. How many homes sell a year? You could be in a great neighborhood, but just nothing moves. And so why would you want everybody in there to know you if there's only 3 houses that sell? So you want to look at that. And then you want to look at who your competition is. So does it matter if you have competition, and sometimes you have it within and without the office? Generally, the neighborhoods that sell the best have the most competition. So why would that matter? It doesn't mean don't do it. It means that what you're going to have to do to get major market share might be more aggressive than if the competition is less. What you want to see is just a whole bunch of hodgepodge names of all different companies and all different agents, because that means it's open for somebody to get in. The hardest, which is going to be you someday, the most difficult, I think, competition is an agent who's a top agent that everybody knows their name, affiliated with a nationwide company, because they're not vulnerable, because they can't say anything about that they don't know who your company is, right? And then they know you. So you're up against somebody and you're with a nationwide company and they know you, and then you're with somebody with a boutique and they don't know the company, know the agent. Odds are you've got the double benefit of have a stronger presentation. So you're going to look to see who the competition is, and then you're going to choose a formula to see, and this could make a difference in which 500 or which 700 you farm, because you've got to run the neighborhood first, do all the closings for last year, assume it's a 3% commission, and find out how much money is available, total commissions in that area for a year. Does that make sense? Okay, so obviously if the sales price is higher, then you're going to have more commission, because there's some neighborhoods that you may figure out that only 12 houses sell a year, or 6, and that you could have the whole subdivision and you'd still not have enough money. So you want to see if you think that that's going to be important to you. So then you figure, well, what if I could get 25% of that? And then you figure, is there enough money? Now, again, in your bigger subdivisions, it's going to be real difficult for you to get that many, but you could get 5% or 10% of it. And then, again, let me think, I lost my thought here. then you need to know again who the competition is, okay? And it matters, and you need to know everything about that person, because when you start sending your message in there, it's like this, and it just amazes me. Let's say that you decided that you were going to start a new restaurant, okay? First you'd ask, does this area need a new restaurant? Like, do they need a Mexican restaurant on the next corner, right? Because you want to see. So you're saying when you're going in, hey, I think I'm going to offer something different and unique than anybody else. I think that they're going to pick me instead of everyone else. If you have a competition and you think, well, I don't know why in the heck anybody's using me, they should use her, don't farm the area, right? But I would suggest that most of you would do a better job, do a great job, and that they might want to have an alternative. One of the things that I think is in messaging, almost without exception, if there's an agent that has major market share and has for a while, the neighbors buzz that that person is underselling the neighborhood because they feel like that their house is always worth more than maybe it is. It's probably not true. It could be true, because we do have competitors that just hammer on price and then that's it, and they don't help it. But you know, let's say that that was the case, then what would your message be? Be a high profit seller, right? When you know the buzz is that we're not getting enough, then that would be what it is. So when you're, I don't want to digress too much, but when you're doing your messaging, and you know, some of you think about it, you need to think about it, those ads that you're going to put in a direct mail are really expensive, and you don't want to just say, oh yeah, that'll work, right? And you got to create a services department that'll work with you on it. They tend to kind of want to just give everybody the same thing and like, go, you know, is this okay? But you want to say, what is it that my competition is saying, and then what can I say to get attention that's different from them? So for example, I hope you don't mind if I use your name, Lauren, but in one of her ads, she's did one on getting on the iBuy program, because people have heard of it, they don't know what it is, and I can get you more than one offer. So do you think that if people are in a newsletter and Susie Q from another company says, I'm number one, did I tell you I was number one? And you know, by the way, I'm number one. And then somebody else said, Happy New Year. And she says, how can, call me to let me show you how I can get more than one offer on your home. Do you think that maybe she would get some calls, right? So you want to think about it, because it's so expensive, and you want to think about who it is that you're competing with, and then make your message different. Let's see here. Okay, again, you need to go all in. They call it a geographic farm because it takes a long time. It's a farm. You're putting the seeds in, you're cultivating it, and then all of a sudden you're going to get the crops, right? And I did it when I was an agent, and when I was new, I thought, I mean, I was everywhere. I was even in the garden club, and I didn't even like gardens, right? Like showing up everywhere. And so, and then a sign would come up that wasn't mine, and I'd be like, you know, everybody knows the feeling of driving into your driveway and see that. But it takes a while. And I moderated a panel of top people. One of them was Dan McCarver. One of them was the Gooderon team. I'm trying to think of who else it was. People that have good geographic farms. And each of them said it took them longer to get in than they thought it would, and they were almost ready to give up. And they just kept doing it. And that's what happens with your competition. How many of you have ever gotten a direct mail at your house that says, I'm specializing in your neighborhood, and then you never see them again, right? So a lot of people try it and then they give up, or they try, what they do is they try this area and then they don't get anything, and then they try over here and they don't get anything. And it's just the constant over and over, as I said, being all in, that eventually will start. Now it depends on the neighborhood and the competition, how long it's going to take you to get in. And it matters if you know people in there, and it's a combination of a sphere of influence and a geographic farm. You know people that are going to put signs in the yard with your name, and then you also are trying to get strangers to do it. It's the most powerful way to do it, because they'll be driving in and out of the of the neighborhood and see your signs all the time. That's why doing open houses is so powerful, because if somebody has to see your name 7 times and they're like me and they drive in and out of the subdivision on the weekend like 50 times doing errands. And so what I might say though is this is, there's going to be somebody, I don't know who's watching, but they got to see your name. I mean, how many times do you drive by an open house sign that you can't even read the person's name? And my eyesight's pretty good. I mean, it is. It used to not be, but it is now. And if you're going to put a sign in, make sure people can read your name and your number, so that when they're driving by, that they can do it, and be strategic about it. Okay. So let's see for what I need to do. All right, you need to create a budget. And you need to talk to me, because we help sometimes with that. I believe when people say to me, Sharon, how come you think that your office has been the top office for so many years? Absolutely, as we just keep having more listings than anybody else. So the office through me is willing to help people that want to go all in on a geographic farm, because it takes a lot of money and a lot of time to do it. And it's, boy, I'd really rather help an agent get in a farm than put a $600 ad in the newspaper and hope that somebody might call me, right? So, and then you need to have a budget. And another reason you need to have one of the reasons you need to have a budget is there's going to be a lot of ways for you to spend your money. People are going to say, how about sponsoring the swim team? Do you know how many names with Gary Green on the back have been at swim teams that the agents never gotten any business off of it, because it's all they did, and it ate up their whole budget, right? So you have to think about that. Everybody says, oh, Sharon hates billboards. Well, if you think about some of the things like billboards and shopping carts and names on t-shirts, the reason, especially the billboards, that it's expensive is because normally the public drives by and the public needs whatever it is on the billboard. But in real estate, it's not target marketing, because out of 100 people, maybe 2 people are going to be moving. 2 people need your service. So generally targeting. Now, if it's in front of your neighborhood, so people like an open house sign, that might, but like somebody says, well, I'm going to do a shopping cart. It's like $5,000, huge amount of money. If it's in your grocery store near where you shop, I mean, where you live, maybe, but when you say, well, I live in Champion Forest, but the only shopping cart available is at Kirkendall and 290, it's a crapshoot. So, and then if you don't have a budget, then there's going to be tons of opportunities. The people are going to want you to sponsor everything. The swim team, the fun run, the this, the that. So when you think about it, like if I thought about a billboard and I thought the billboard was going to be $5,000 a year, I think, well, how much direct mail could I do for that amount? Or how much, what else could I do that would get in front of people that had a need for my business, right? And so now it doesn't mean there's a right or wrong. And but I can tell you this, if you do something like that, then at the end of the year, you've got to look at it and say, all right, it cost me $5,000 for the billboard. how many deals do I think I got directly because of that billboard? And if you can't figure out $5,000 worth, that can be a little vague because you don't know if it's just that one more eyeball, right? But if you have a billboard and you don't do anything else, it's just going to be a waste of money. And besides, they're driving. They can even write down your telephone, right? But again, I know people have billboards and people love it. It doesn't mean either or, but you got to say, do I have enough money to do that plus do everything else? And then it might be something that matters. That's why, maybe driving your neighborhood every day with your car sign on your car would be cheaper and more bang for your buck than a billboard. However, if you have the budget, it's in the right place. I've seen some really cool ones out of this office in the right place, then it could help. But you should be every year trying to, anybody that calls you, anybody that you see, you should be saying, how did you hear about me? To see next year, are you going to continue doing that? Now, lots of people say to me that live in a geographic farm, I don't know if it's working because I knew everybody. But you don't think they know other real estate agents? They do, but maybe what you were doing is positioning yourself in their mind that you were the top person in there, that they remembered you. Because that's the key, is that if I got on the phone in your neighborhood and I called and said, I'm doing a survey, can you tell me the first name of the person that you would think of in real estate? You're going to need to be the first person they think of in a lot of people's minds, or you're not going to be, probably not that effective, right? That's why I think open houses work, because it shows that you're working in the neighborhood, they're active. So what does your competition say? Oh, open houses don't work. Oh, ads don't work. Oh, that doesn't work. Well, then tell me why I'm writing you a check for $9,000, right? So it does work. I think it is something that we do to sell the house, but we do to generate business, because again, that sign writer costs what, $20? And then people are paying thousands for a billboard, but they're on the weekend, they're not doing open houses to have their name out there. I think that, is there any questions about how to choose a farm? Is that, because that's what we're mainly doing before I go to, I think we had the time to talk a little bit about what are the things you could do. And it would be important to think about choosing a farm, because if we talk about what you do and then you have the budget, then you got to figure out, do you have the budget to do what it is you want to do, right? So one of the things that I think that, again, generally what people do is there's a direct mail. Very often for top people, it's just listed in just sold cards. The reason that the company, who we don't throw money around, you've noticed that, still pays for free just listed and just sold cards for $25 for the agents, is that they still work, because people want to do business with people that know the neighborhood, right? So they are a form of direct mail that still works. So often real estate agents that are in an area will make sure that they send just listed and just sold cards all the time. And the message is what? I know the neighborhood, I'm successful in the neighborhood, I get results. Very often people put an ad in their neighborhood newsletter if they have one. They're expensive, but if you take the fact that, let's say that you have, well, I mean, in let's say Windrose has 2,000 people, and if an ad is $500, $300, you couldn't direct mail to that many people for that amount of money. And that's one of the reasons why people do it. Now, we don't know if everybody reads it or not, but they don't always read direct mail either, right? Then anything, community involvement is really important. If you've got to find the people that know people. Call them bird dogs. They're people that are always telling you, hey, so-and-so's moving, so-and-so's moving. And if you have a few of those people, now you've got to ask them, you got to tell them, I need you to help me this year. I'm looking to try to increase my business to get more. If you know of anybody, you know I'll do a good job for them. Please help me. One of the things too that I think I would suggest is trying social media. There's a few people that have started a Facebook page for their neighborhood. They link it to their personal page. Then they start information about their neighborhood, and then they invite people from their personal page that maybe live in the neighborhood. And then posting it is free. And then if you can get enough people to go, and it's always posting about real estate, what's happening, tips, what's sold, and all that. And basically, if you haven't seen it, those pages make it look, if you do that, it's going to look like that you have all the listings in the neighborhood, because it's just like it's called IDX or something, where you go to the Area Green page and you can see every single listing. So it kind of looks like we have all the listings, right? And an individual agent could do that as long as you're pulling from MLS. Because we did have somebody turn one of our agents in, and so how can we do that? Their name is down at the bottom, and TAR said, no, you're doing it right. You can absolutely do it as long as you pull it in, and if they page down at the end, they see it's somebody else. And people want information. That's who they're going to choose. Also, let me go back. I'm kind of wandering on messaging. Like Brian laughs because it drives me crazy when I see direct mail. Happy Valentine's Day, Happy New Year, happy whatever. What does that say? It says maybe you're a nice person. They don't, like, that's kind of given. You've got to, they have to know that you know something about the neighborhood and that you get results. They want to, like, let's just forget you're a real estate agent. And let's just go back and just think about the last time you moved when you weren't a real estate agent. Maybe you picked somebody that sold you the house, but what you really wanted to know is what your house was worth. And you really needed to talk to somebody that knew something about the neighborhood that could give you good advice. What's your house worth? So again, that's why geographic farming works, because very often you might have had it happen to you, where you sell a house in a neighborhood that you don't, let's say it's in the Woodlands or something, and they go to sell, and you found out they listed with somebody and they didn't list with you. But probably why is they think, well, this person knew the Woodlands. You know, they could have listed with you too, but if you're not keeping up with them, or they still might want to list with the person that has all the signs. Let's see here. Any other questions about it? Or so you need to create a plan, create a budget, decide what your message is going to be, and go all in. And then as far as social media is concerned, I guess some people can use Nextdoor. And then the last thing I want to talk about is your HOAs. If your HOA will allow you to have community events so that you get a chance to meet people, but a lot of them, for whatever reason, they just, I don't know if they hate real estate agents or they don't want to have events or whatever it is. It's old-fashioned because people aren't going to spend money and time having an event if there might not be something of benefit for them. And it's a win-win. It's a win for the community, and it's a win for the agent and or anybody else that's going to be living in that neighborhood that might want, like, your insurance people or mortgage people or the dentist or the whatever. And so I think with the HOAs, if you have them that make it difficult for you to get your name out there, that I keep at it. Just keep at it as far as asking if you can do it. You know, just keep asking them, because you might be able to make them converts. Now, if you have a place like you've got Ravenel and you have some, Glenlock's got a golf club that you can do stuff there, and the HOA can't do anything about it, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe the school parking lot, you can put your name all over the place in those places if that's what you have to do in order to make sure that your name is out there over and over and over again. So here's the last thing I'm going to say about it, if you have any questions. it's not one big event. Like, it's not like, oh my gosh, and I knew somebody that did this. I'm going to hire it wasn't in our office, hire an airplane and then fly over the neighborhood with my name.
Great idea.
Yeah, and people look, okay,
Yeah.
but that,
Somebody jumping out.
that's not like it. You got to do it over and over and over and over again. What you want people to say when they bump into you in the neighborhood, they want you to say, "You're everywhere. I see your name everywhere." That's what, and the thing about open houses is they don't even know if they saw the sign in the yard. They don't know if it was, they don't know where they saw it. They just know they saw your name, right? So you could be like, oh, great, I don't have any listings. And they're like, you're everywhere, because you continue to do that. Are there any questions or comments? How does it sound? Exhausting? Expensive?
Expensive.
It's better. What I would say is, if you don't know anybody in your neighborhood and you want to geographic farm it, I think I would start by getting to know people in your neighborhood. Get on the HOA, go to the women's club, start that. And then once you start knowing some people, then after that, start strangers, because it's going to help you. Does that make sense? As far as if you don't know anybody in the neighborhood and you're trying to get everybody that's a stranger to you, because if people know you, this is for a sphere or even a geographic farm, people know who you are. I don't think they really need to hear from you more than about once a month. I think that you'll continue to be top of the mind if you're if they know who you are, because they've seen you, they know who you are. It's when they're strangers and you're trying to get them to know you that they need to see you a lot. The other thing that I just thought of something is, like, if you're going to have a budget and you're going to do direct mail or whatever it is, I wouldn't take it and do a 12th of the budget in January, a 12th. I would front load it into the spring when people are, let's say that you had $1,200 to spend. So it was $100, okay, a month. I would probably not spend it in let's hope it's a little more than that. Let's hope it's not, I wouldn't spend it in January. Might not spend it in February, but I might spend 200 or 300 in March and April. And then maybe I'd not do October, or November, December, because you're looking for listings, right? When do all the listings happen? So you would want to, it's not, if you have the budget to do it all the time, great. But if you're saying to your family, take a look at my face because I'm going to be doing open house, you're never going to see me on the weekend. Don't have that be in December or January. Have it be in March, April, May, when you and then take December off. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
What are the steps if you want to look at a subdivision? Where do you go and how do you get into a subdivision to see?
You go to MLS. You go to MLS, and then you do solds, and you're going to see how many sold. And if you go to Angela here, she can show you, because what you also want to do, so it'll be a list of everything that's sold. And then she can also show you who the agent and company is that sold it, because that's where you need to know what your competition is. That, even if you're doing a geographic farm now, you want to do it because you want to, if you're going to choose one, that again, what you're looking at is not the company, but the company and the agent. And then if that person, whoever they're with, they're going to be vulnerable in some form or fashion, right? And so that's how you do and look at, we have this really weird industry where we're cooperating and we need people, so we have to be nice to our competition, right? Because they sell our listings. But if you have your way, you're going to put them out of business. That's really what you're trying to do, right? Is because if they get the business, you don't get the business. So in a neighborhood, you've got to figure out who is it that's buying for this business that I want. What are they doing? And I got to do it more, and I got to do it better for them to choose me. One of the things about a hot market is it's a little harder to get in if there's somebody entrenched, because they sell right away. So let's say Susie Q works for XYZ and she's got a lot of listings. If her sign goes in the yard and it sells immediately, then people are like, oh, they're less vulnerable. It's when it slows down a little bit that everybody goes, oh no, it's slowing down. Well, that's good if you're trying to get into a geographic farm, right? And you can't do anything about that. There's some price ranges also that are a little bit slower. You don't hope it's slow, but you know that it's going to be a little bit tougher to get in because people are happy with what the other person's doing. But again, most of the buzz in the neighborhoods is sellers don't understand market value. Market value is what the buyer is going to pay. The buyer sets market value, not the seller. The buyer does, okay? And so you want to be sure that, and then most people think that their house is worth more than it is. So when they look at what things sold for, it is naturally, and you'd hope that what would happen to you, but it could. You might have to be aware of that. If you get a lot of business in an area, that might be what somebody is saying, that, oh, that should have sold for more. Yeah, but it smelled like dog and it had old carpet and, right? It really wasn't worth it. Anything else?
Sure.
Yes.
It looks pretty pretty lined out how much of the direct mail costs. But if you're starting a farm with 300 homes, how much more do you need to budget than just direct mail?
It depends on if you can use social media or if you can be one-on-one with people. Like I would say anybody with a geographic farm, get one of those Gary Green golf shirts that's green or white with your name on it, and every single place that you are in that neighborhood, at the swim club, whatever it is, you're there. They know that you're in real estate. They see your name one more time. You can't be a secret agent. You can't say, oh, like I was telling you the story about when I was new, which is years ago, but it's still the same. I joined the garden club and I can't garden. And I'm like, well, what if somebody thinks I'm here because I just want their business for real estate, which is why I was there. And then I thought, so I'm not going to say anything. So then I thought, well, if I don't say anything, then I'm an agent, then all I am is at a club that I don't want to be at, right? And then the worst thing that could happen is somebody would say, well, I think she's just here because she's in real estate. So what? Then I got business out of the garden club. Then I dropped out as fast as I could. But anyway, luckily you might be able to do some things that you like. So again, those are all free. Open houses are free. Facebook pages are free. I would say probably, man, I don't know if there's hardly any subdivisions. I know a few people in here that do it, that have a neighborhood Facebook page. It's wide open. And then you've noticed that I've been making a fool out of myself with video because I want you guys to say, hey, and we're figuring out all the nuances. And again, if you're putting video, 5 years from now, you're going to say, remember when Sharon sat there and told us we needed to do video because nobody did, and now everybody does it? But everybody's not doing it, and it catches people's attention, and it catches you're doing video, right? And you see how many likes you get, how many people know who you are. And if it's content about real estate and about the neighborhood, people want to look at it. So again, you can use social media that's cheaper than direct mail. Now, does snail mail work? I think it does. That's why your mailbox is full. I think it still does. And people say to me, I don't want to send anything because it's junk and I never look at any of it. But you're not like everybody else. You might not, but that doesn't mean that other people might not look at it. They do, or at least they look at it like this as they're throwing it in the trash. Or if it has stats about their neighborhood, they're going to look at it. If it's something that if it says Happy New Year, they may throw it off before they even see whose face it is. But if it's got something about what's sold in the neighborhood and what's going on, they're looking at it because they want to know.
Yeah, make it look interesting and not just a blank white envelope with your name on it.
We have done forever in the company, and it's still, we've kind of changed it up, the agents have, but every month we do what's called a market report, where you put, we don't do it exactly with the grid, but some people still do, and it tells how many sold in what price range every month and how many were listed. And so as the year went on, you could see what the most popular price range was and how many sold. People collected them. They want to know, because that's one thing they can't get on the internet. And well, they could if they dug. Like, you can get the sold prices off of our website, but half people don't know that. So because it's a non-disclosure state, so it's not going to be on Zillow or anything else. So that's why it's so hard for Zillow to do prices. But people, is there anybody, anytime you go anywhere and you tell them you're in real estate, don't they just kind of attack you with what's going on? What happened over there? You know, and that's, you need to know. So the last thing I'm going to say is, if you're doing a geographic farm and I say, how many homes are in the market? What's the average price per square foot? What about this? What builder built that? You better know all of it. All of it. Every time one goes on the market, you should probably preview it. You should drive your neighborhood. So when somebody meets you at the store and they go, well, what's going on with that house on the corner? You don't say, beats the heck out of me. You say, you know, and that's why appraisers call real estate agents, because they'll say, what do you think? And you go, well, that house down the street was a foreclosure, and that house over there had termites all over it. Do you think the MLS is going to say it had termites all over it? It's, you know what I'm saying? So you're going to know, and that's why that's the beauty of being a geographic farm, because you can't know that about all of Houston. It's too big. Okay, who's ready to do a geographic farm? Okay.
I'm already
Good.
dabbling.
All right, let's turn it off, and then I want to say something to this group.